Funding for Working Capital is provided by the Friends of KTWU, Raymond C. and Marguerite Gibson Foundation, and Kansas Department of Commerce.
Here in Kansas, we've had a long line of what I would call warrior poets who were great sheriffs. Bat Masterson, Wyatt Earp, people that not just carried a big stick, but had a certain way of talking. And really, that's kind of how I found our guest today. We're going to talk about law enforcement, but with this day and age, it's all about social media and posting. And this sheriff will definitely grab your attention with some of this stuff that he writes. Pretty on the mark, he'll call people out. But what happens, though, in this kind of policing when you see the cameras roll? What sticks then? So stick around. You're watching Working Capital.
Were you alone?
I was alone.
Okay. Why'd you run, you silly goose?
Well, 2 hours.
That's not a respectable way to respond to a traffic stop.
Are you guys the good guys?
Yeah, we're the good guys, dude.
You promise?
Yeah, I promise you. For real. I'm Eric. I'm the sheriff. Hello. Welcome to Wabaunsee County.
Thank you.
Welcome to Working Capital. Today we're here with Sheriff Eric Kirsch. Like I said, I found you from social media.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're a sheriff. You're a sheriff in a great county here in Kansas, Wabaunsee County.
Pronunciation of Wabaunsee.
Wabaunsee.
Means dawn of day.
So let's just, before we get into the social media, what brought you here? I think before we got started, you let me know you were from New York.
Yeah, New York, yeah.
So no accent or nothing, but you know, what brought you out here?
I took a car.
Just fell in love with it?
Yeah.
Stranded on I-70?
I got done with the military. I met my better half, and she was an Army pilot. She was a Black Hawk pilot for 8 years. And now she's an evil lawyer in Topeka.
An evil?
I won't say the firm name or her name.
That's all right.
But
all
yeah,
right.
she was here. I came here, fell in love, and that was 10 years ago.
Well, that's another one I'd ask. How do you go from a pilot to a lawyer? But that's for another show. Maybe we'll reach out again.
She fed me and I didn't leave. That's really the bulk of it.
I think that's the key to a good relationship on whoever's cooking. So.
Yes.
So you come to Wabaunsee. We're here in Alma.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think law enforcement right away, or what got you into this office? You definitely are a people person and a helper.
So I was a Marine officer, I was an NCIS special agent, and then I was a contractor in Kurdistan in northern Iraq. And I was basically on my overseas adventures, and I had to grow up. I had a Peter Pan moment.
Yeah.
I needed to grow up. And my ex-wife lives in Missouri, and our daughter was here, and I could be a cop anywhere, but I had to be a dad here.
Yeah.
So after I got done with my last, contract job over in northern Iraq, I took a year off to travel and see family and friends that I hadn't seen in a long time. I met my better half. And then I was getting a VIN inspection done here at the courthouse, and I met the former sheriff, and 2 hours later he hired me. So, which was, crazy.
Wow.
But, yeah.
I think he probably saw something, because we just met, but just walking in the door, such a genuine conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get that a lot with public officials, especially sometimes law enforcement, because in bigger cities like Topeka and other places, they really are a little more closed off. So your style of law enforcement, which I would kind of call harm reduction, I would hope something like that could work in Topeka and other places also, but it's a different kind of style. Like I think you guys saw in that little video from the opening, a lot of times whenever you see body cam footage, you're waiting for something really horrible to happen. Whether it's the perpetrator's fault, or unfortunately this day and age, sometimes the people behind the camera, or for whatever reason, but let's not go there. But seeing you actually care for that person that did something very wrong, and you can tell there's something wrong in their life. You guys could have been the biggest jerks at that moment, and almost rightfully so, because they did put a lot of other people in danger running and whatnot. But at that moment in time when they are safe and captured and no one else has been hurt, You saw them as a person, not just, let's check this off, handcuffs on and go. Where does that level of leadership and care come from? I mean, is that something from growing up and instilled? Is that military? I mean,
Because they're vulnerable. And we need to be deeply human and provide strength and calm and reason instead of contributing to increase their anxiety or distress. I mean, it's a fine line between projecting order and policing. And one thing I found is people want police, but they hardly like being policed. Yeah. So let's try to figure out a new way of doing things, a better way of doing things here. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing because it makes a lot of sense. And the benefit is, you're correct, harm reduction. So we spend a lot of time on trauma-informed interviewing and just trying to take a whole picture approach to look at the whole situation.
Look at the whole life instead of
Sure.
the incident.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't almost look at what caused it, and I rehabilitation, everything else down the road, if you look at what caused it, even in those few moments you're with them, whether here, whether in a jail cell, whatnot, you can make a positive impact in a lot of those people because they've actually seen someone who cared in their darkest moment, who a lot of times they are trained by whoever they're around it. All law enforcement is horrible. Mm-hmm. It really is refreshing to see that kind of level of care these days.
So upstairs in our jail, we do crazy things. We call inmates by their first name. We say things like please and thank you. And it works.
Treat them like humans instead of...
They're in jail.
Yeah.
Can we curse on this show? Is that or is that
I mean, we can go to a certain extent, and we can bleep it too. So seriously,
out of respect for the audience, I won't curse. Yeah. But they're already in jail. Jail sucks. I'm not going to contribute to any. I don't want to increase their. Yeah, I'm here to do a job, and we're going to do it leading with humanity and authenticity
instead of poking them after they're already down.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of criminals, I think, they think they can outsmart the law, but of course, in that moment, it doesn't matter who you are, you've been beat.
Sure. So. I've hardly encountered a evil person. It's a rarity. It's an extraordinary rarity. All bad. No one is the sum of any one thing. So,
to me, it's growing up. It's experiences. It's what you've gone through. It's the traumas. It's the joys. It's whatever else has molded you to that point. Yeah, and you don't know if someone grew up and was beat up every day by a brother or had a parent. I don't have to get into it with you and a lot of you viewers out, but you get where we're getting to. But it does take that special touch. So, and we see that, like I say, we see that a lot in some of your posts. Some of them are witty and funny. Some of them are really touching and more vulnerable. One instance I saw was you were talking about domestic violence. Mm-hmm. And of course, me, like everyone else, instantly in my head, I'm thinking, a female, this is horrible and bad, which it is. But at the end, another paragraph or two mentioning the reverse, that it does happen to men, and calling out some of that. Because us as men, a lot of times, if you are being hurt, you don't want to step forward because you've been taught that then you're not a man anymore. You can't take it, so you hide more. But from that post, I noticed, I don't know if it was days or weeks later, someone did come forward who was in that reverse situation, and it was a male who needed that caring hand. And I don't know if that post reached out or not, but it seems like the county has responded with the caring you brought with you, because it really takes a lot to me when someone comes in from out of town and has such a bleeding heart for their community, because then they love the job and they love what they're doing in the protection. Because
on a monthly basis, I run into people that I've arrested, and I've yet ever to have a negative experience. Like people that I've arrested, and I see them at a restaurant or I see them at the gas pump, and it always goes something like this: "Hey Eric, how's it going? Hey, what's up, man? How are you? Good. Everything going good? Cool." Because socially, it's close quarters here.
Yeah.
You have to be delicate. You have to be deliberately sensitive to the fact that it's impossible to treat them like a number, because you see that person, like it's a certainty that you will run into them. And I'll be damned if I go through life anxious because I did something or said something stupid to somebody. in a moment of vulnerability, like when being arrested for any reason is a big deal. It's a big deal. It has the potential to permanently change your life, your perception of you, your employment, the way you see things, the way I tell the deputies, my coworkers, you might not remember everyone you have contact with, but they'll always remember you. Mm-hmm. It's a powerful thing. It's a huge responsibility, and we don't take that lightly here.
And you start off from a younger age, mm-hmm. and so I've seen you mention before where, if you're the crazy high school student or someone who's all their friends doing something wrong, let's say they've had a few beers when they're definitely underage, you'd rather them call, drive them home, let their families figure it out with them instead of throwing the book at them. Because sometimes it is the kid who normally wouldn't do it and just gets caught up, and then they're overthinking it, and then their life is done, where the others maybe just brush it off. So, the harm reduction starts at an early age.
My philosophy is punishment is subordinate to education, and it's not my job to punish anybody. That's for the courts. So we have officer discretion for most things, and I think I'm taking a critical component out of the equation if I decide to be the purveyor of all things. And you should have that parent. If we're talking juveniles, I'm an idiot, and I was even more of an idiot when I was.
Thank goodness cameras weren't around then, right?
When I was a teenager, and I had some terrible experiences with law enforcement and some fantastic experiences with law enforcement, and both were valuable. Yeah, both were valuable.
It's time for a short break. When we get back, we'll speak a little bit more with the sheriff. Thanks for watching Working Capital.
I'm Lynn Richter, a KTWU viewer and supporter. KTWU is our local station that serves this local community. It depends on national support and local support from viewers like you and me. KTWU cannot survive without funding, and with national funding being drastically cut. Donating money to KTWU assures the station can afford to purchase the shows we depend on and enjoy watching. Please log on to ktwu.org or call the number on your screen to help fund KTWU at this critical time. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Okay. Me, lots of other people, sometimes late in life, or this may be something you're thinking about as a first career. But law enforcement, you want to help the people around you. What's the best way to get into it? Is it that much different between, say, a city like Topeka, which I'll say larger city, but really it's not large, compared to working more county crimes and smaller towns?
Don't do it, kids. Don't become a cop. Don't become a cop. Become a firefighter, right? You get to eat lasagna, hang out with your best friends. Don't do this stuff. It's
chili and cinnamon rolls. So you get no chili and cinnamon rolls here?
No, they get to watch. We kind of like Marines make fun of Air Force dudes. Yeah, it's jealousy. And we make fun of firefighters because we're jealous that we're not smart enough to become firefighters. So.
And then I see everyone's making fun of SEALs now because it seems like, you do social media, but it seems like every SEAL has a podcast now.
Are you talking about Navy SEAls?
Navy SEAls. They all have podcasts. So there's a joke that, they have to go through 2 weeks of social media training also. So anyways, that's another story. Thank you for your service to everybody. And I do like it when they butt heads online.
Except for SEALs. We're done with the books. Hey, SEALs, thank you very much. We're done with reading your books. I appreciate it. Except for Jack Carr. Shout out to Jack Carr. You're awesome, man. Terminalist was great. But yeah, the rest of them, man, it's like a bunch of Streisand's, Yeah, they're always very neurotic. And enough about me. Let's talk about me. I'm a SEAL. Did you know I was a SEAL? I was in the SEAL teams.
See these?
Bin Laden, where'd he go? Thank you. You're welcome. For my service. I'm just joking.
You want to see pics?
But I'm not.
That's secret.
Yeah, it's classified.
Yeah.
It's classified.
But seriously, you say don't do it. What?
No, if anyone wants to be in law enforcement or whatever, if you want to be a philosopher or doctor or an HVAC technician or own your own small business or a videographer, do it. Whatever calls you, do it. Life is very short.
Do what you love.
Do what you love and then get better at it and figure out where your shortfalls are too. That's the more important part of trying to beat your performance from yesterday. Yeah. It's a method of constant maintenance, and it starts with you first. So I tell people that when I speak to the high school kids or college students and they're interested in law enforcement, I'm grateful that they're asking me my opinion on things. And then it's a matter of probably the most useful advice I'll provide is, where do you want to live? And then apply it the best agency. Yeah. You know, if you want to live in Florida, figure out where in Florida. If you want to be a city police officer, do that. If you want to be a county sheriff's deputy, do that. If you want to go federal, be NCIS or something like that, do that or not. But I think people eventually find. I don't recruit. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they need to want to do it.
The same thing for the military. I want people to make up their own minds, and there's so much information available. Make up your own, like Robert Heinlein and Starship Troopers said, figuring things out for yourself is the only true freedom anyone really has. Use that freedom. So,
on kind of that note, what is your kind of your motto for your? I see you took it from somewhere else, but I think I saw it the other day. Kind of your mission statement. Maybe it came from a 80s movie, I think.
Yeah, RoboCop. Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, and uphold the law. That's the mission statement of the sheriff's office. And yes, I
rings true.
Shamelessly stole that from RoboCop.
Rings true.
Because it makes sense.
It does.
Plus, RoboCop is a savage movie.
Someone decides they have wanted to do law enforcement, but maybe even just seeing you, or they are in a smaller town, they decide sheriff's office, deputy sheriff, school resource officer.
Sure.
That's another position you guys have that's very needed these days.
Mm-hmm.
How do they get involved? What kind of academy is there? What do people go through to become a deputy sheriff or even a school resource officer? How much does that differ?
Or at the end of the day, whether you're a KBI special agent or a deputy sheriff or a Kansas Highway Patrol trooper or a game warden, you're still a Kansas peace officer. So you're either going through the Highway Patrol Academy in Salina or you're going to the KLETC, which is in Hutchinson, Kansas. I think it's 14 weeks. I went through the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Georgia. That was 6 months.
Does that kind of open up to where most states will take you right away instead of doing a different kind of testing? Or...
Correct, yeah. So I had reciprocity. So Kansas accepted my federal credentials to gain certification here in Kansas. So, but that's the initial training. There's always an academy. Some academies are paramilitary, like most troopers in any state. They're paramilitary. It's deliberate and needs more discipline to it. The Federal Law Enforcement Training Center Academy was more like a college campus. KLATC is more of a enrichment college campus type thing. So the Border Patrol Academy in Artesia, New Mexico is paramilitary too. Okay. So there's a few federal, I think that's the only one. I could be mistaken, but I'm not sure. Okay. But sorry, the phone's going on.
No, it's okay.
On the radio. It never ends.
I mean, one of those jobs where definitely you're on call all the time.
Yeah. Hey, kids, if you want a job where every day's different and nothing ever ends, become a cop. But if not, do anything else. So, for real, yeah. It never ends. And that's why, every day's different. For real. And
on another note, because careers affect family, your wife being ex-military and a lawyer, I mean, does she like what you're doing or just put up with it?
No, she barely puts up with it. She, every time I leave, it's not one of those fatalistic things where it's like every time you go to work, she doesn't expect me to come home. But there's, that's with everybody though. I mean,
that it's anywhere, it's any job. And I know times seem like they're worse now. And but it's gone on forever. It just used to not be reported as much. I mean,
I'm incredibly lucky to have anyone that loves me, let alone someone who supported me through the last 10 years of this job. It will test you. It will test your perceptions of the world, of yourself,
probably the criminal justice system in
the
general.
system itself, injustices that, you know, that mar you and upset you. I mean, like my stance on cannabis, for instance. Let's talk about that.
Okay, let's do that.
There are human beings that were put in jail cells because they had a dime bag of weed not that long ago, right?
No.
Or a joint because President Nixon said so, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's important. It's important to me at least to
Yeah.
evaluate the why.
Because with harm reduction,
How about this? Up until 1865, it was legal to own people in the United States, right?
Yeah.
So if you come at me with the assertion that all laws are okay and they don't need to be amended,
Yeah.
I'll just point to the 14th Amendment, if I'm not mistaken, which is the end of slavery and the abolishment of that institution. So yeah, and things need to be challenged effectively and to match the undercurrent of societal expectations. Most people 20 years ago with tattoos, for instance,
yeah.
were either sailors or felons.
you weren't going to job anywhere if they
Right.
saw those.
I've got a full back piece and both sleeves done, right? I'm inked up.
Yeah.
Good luck meeting anyone born after 9/11 who doesn't have a tattoo, right? So, yeah, things evolve, and you know, it's my role to be and assisting that pragmatically, and that comes into police reform as well.
Well, and on that note, I mean, you spoke of the 14th Amendment. I've had other people on the show before from hemp and talk about cannabis legalization also, where they bring up Anslinger in the 30s and basically bringing the laws around so they could enforce it against migrant workers.
Sure, yeah.
Kind of brings us back around to today a little bit in ways that they're just finding ways to rid things that scare them. Whereas today, working talent, if you take away everyone that's here that doesn't look like you, our economy crashes because there's lots of jobs that people that look like me don't want to do. So, like you say, the antiquated laws, and not to go all the way around, but with the cannabis and with military, it's been shown to at least help with PTSD. So I don't even care if it doesn't make it for the populace.
Sure.
I don't know why people have gone through that for us. Can't have that little bit of relief in a way instead of opioids or chasing alcohol.
Sure.
Or chasing the darkness.
Anything that starts in bull typically continues and then ends in a climactic, sea of bull too.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to look back on my deathbed and understand that I contributed to unnecessary suffering of any type.
Yep.
Anslinger, you brought up that whole thing and the reefer madness. It was xenophobic. It was politically motivated. There were, behind every fortune, there's a crime, right? And we have guns and the power of arrest. I'm very observant of that. I'm very delicate, and it's overwhelming at times. And I'm glad I'm self-aware because they're not little things in people's lives and freedoms. You have to be incredibly observant and reverent to that. There's too much at stake to just continue on with the same old thing over and over and over again, because it's typically not the people that are enacting or enforcing stupid laws that pay the price for it.
Yeah.
It's everybody else. And not anymore.
Nope. Unfortunately, this is my opinion. I may cut this out of the show, but there's too much money involved in politics. That's all it comes down to.
Sure.
You get influenced by outside besides listening to just your populace and what they want. There's problems all the way around. I think 70% of Kansans would vote for at least medicinal, but of course, lawmakers, the very small percentage say no. So On that note, though, see, I'm. This makes me think different of your stance. I had speculation that the fried pie shop on I-70, right next to the Alma exit, was actually ran by your office to catch the
Stoners.
reefer madness coming
Yeah.
through the state.
No.
So
When government forgets that the preservation of constitutional rights is the secondary point, and there's a problem. Or if government believes that they know what's best for the American people without asking them first, that's a problem. If you're not extending the invitation for them to participate with their consent via opinion or their vote,
yeah,
that's a problem. It's incredibly important for me to pay attention to opinion and have conversations and discussions and listen and keep listening and then challenge my own beliefs. You know, I think a lot of us early on when we were younger kids, hey, don't do drugs. They're bad. Okay, well, all drugs? Yes, all drugs, cool. So
yeah,
what about cancer medications? Those are drugs. You know, and then you start going down this line of thought of like, well, like absolutism is typically the first step before true tyranny on anything, right? So,
and the warped boundaries then. So something that's a lot of people consider mild, like cannabis, is so bad to some people, but then those same people, even though it's not prescribed to them, they'll go take someone else's medication and think, oh, cool, you know, it comes from a pharmacy, it's all good, but I'm like, you're just having methamphetamines that are made in a clean environment. What makes you that much different if you're abusing that compared to... it's so wishy-washy.
I was sitting in drug court in a bigger jurisdiction, I won't say which, several years ago, and I was getting ready to testify. And there was several defendants that were being the initial appearances, and I just noticed the octave of the voices that the judge was talking in, the prosecutors and defense counsel, and everybody was either sharing the same pot of coffee or they were all on Adderall. And the only people that weren't on meth were the defendants, because they were, you know, in the county jail. They couldn't get it.
They couldn't get it that day.
So it's like, let's be careful what you decide to label certain things pro or against. When everybody's in certain high stress jobs and they're on Adderall and they're trying and convicting people for possession of methamphetamine. I'm not saying methamphetamines are good.
No.
I'm just looking at it like, okay, yeah, it's bad. I get that. The narco terrorists that are in control of that supply for those really damaging and dangerous narcotics, that's a organized criminal element that needs to be combated.
We hope you've enjoyed today's show. If you like more like this, make sure to log on to watch.ktwu.org. We'll see you next time on Working Capital.
To view the extended edition of this interview, visit watch.ktwu.org. Funding for Working Capital is provided by the Friends of KTWU, Raymond C. and Marguerite Gibson Foundation, and Kansas Department of Commerce.